So these are some of the pictures that he was showing me, kind of going for that look. That's to me that's like the European look. I know like V-Rods and a lot of breakouts that they do overseas have that real cool look. But these are just kind of some references that he gave me. There's one with the cutouts on it. Like I said, I don't like the way that happens. See, like that one looks pretty cool. It's just like real smooth, and then it's got the nice cool art rounded edge. So I think that's kind of what we're gonna go for. That's not a desirable look. Not for me, not for my customer. So when he saw it, he's like, oh, now I get what you're talking about. And I'm just gonna transfer over some marks and get it mounted chopper style. Oh, buddy needs gas, cool. Take it off, pour gas in, set it back on here, back to the gas station to refill this. You're good to go. Dang it, I did it again. Just started fabricating, so I'm happy with it. License plate is behind the bag, but it doesn't stick out way past the bag. And then the brake arm, I took a billet one that he had, and I machined a new piece, and he'll have, I guess, one of the only billet pieces. So that's what we're working on.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I've got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Yeah, sorry bro, but this show's about me.
So here's the Fender that he has chosen. He purchased it himself, and this is what he wants to run on his bike. This is a soft tail, so we won't be using the whole complete round piece, because if you get it, once you get it past like 90 degrees, so past here and past here, that's good for the travel of the bike. And if you bring it over this way, as long as you haven't passed over here, you're fine, okay? So soft tails, like, they usually stop like right around here-ish, and then you can bring it all the way over here, and it gives it room to travel. Once you start dropping this down this way and this way, it limits the travel, because when the tire starts going up, it starts hitting back here. But then when it goes this way, it moves forward and it starts hitting the front of the fender. So that Eddie Trotta bike that I had here, it's limited on how high and how low you can go. So it was bottoming out and topping out real bad. So I had to put stiffer springs. Long story short, we're gonna move this forward. Once we get it cut to where we want it, I'm gonna take the extra piece and I'm gonna try to build so it looks like the fender goes all the way this way, and then he can get it painted. I gotta take all this stuff off so I can slowly rotate the fender and kind of see what kind of length he wants. I'll have to send him some pictures and see what kind of length. I know he said he wanted like super short, but a lot of ones I saw were somewhere around here. I would like to have it maybe straight with the disc, so it kind of curves over just a little bit, so when you look at it from the back, it looks like the fender is sitting on the tire. If you cut it up here, you can see the gap between the fender and the tire, and then it kind of has that dirt bike look. So I like to have it just come down right there. And that'll give it a nice little swoop. So we'll go like here and slowly bend it around. We'll start with that. If he doesn't like it, I can slowly start cutting it back. It'd be sick to just weld it straight to the swing arm. And then no matter where he puts it, we can adjust all of that. But so I did have to go ahead and remove the axle, pull the side mount license plate off, so I could slide this forward, pull the belt off, pull the wheel back, so I could slide the plastic mud guard thingy-mabopper off. So got that off, and so now can kind of see how this fender is gonna kind of wrap in there. What I am gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead and drop the shocks. Basically lift the bike up, put something underneath the rear tire, drop the shocks, and then let the suspension all the way down. And what that's gonna do is that's gonna bring this swing arm all the way up to where it hits the rubber stop back in here. So that way that's completely bottomed out. He is planning to maybe put air suspension on it, but he's not sure yet. So if he puts air suspension, it's gonna sit really low when he's chilling, and then when he lifts up, then he can ride and it'll move. Or he might just lower it with some lowered springs. I think he's got to have a lowering kit on this thing. So once we figure out where the length he wants, then I'll probably cut it like right around here and then start making struts that come into the fender. And then once that's all kind of tacked in place and figured out, then I can start working with this. See how much cooler that looks with this going all the way down? I think that's what's what's going to happen there. And then we'll have to figure out the whole seat thing, see how far the fender is. So that's a big old gap. Probably if it was me, I wouldn't have gone with such a tight radius fender. I probably would have gone with one that's a little bit more out, so that way it flowed a little bit better. Actually, that's exactly what I would have done. I'm glad I put this on there just to see what it was looking like. Damn you, Softails! Yeah, this is a rigid fender. That's why it's so tight. The Softail fender would have been a lot bigger arch. I'm not gonna lie, this is gonna take some thinking. So I'm back, and so on this Breakout, we decided to not go the Euro style fender route. Customer came by, we talked for a little bit, and we decided not to go that route, and then some other stuff happened, so it's been probably a couple weeks since the last time you've seen me. So I kind of have an idea of what I'm going to do. I went ahead and started marking out where I'm going to cut this fender. We're going to mount this kind of like a regular Softail fender, and I'll mount it so that it's got hidden hardware and stuff like that. And then I'm going to make, and then I'll make side plates with probably hidden turn signals, brake lights and stuff, so it'll be kind of like all hidden. And then I will fiberglass him a seat pan, and then once the seat pan's made, he can take it and get it upholstered and go from there. So I got the fender cut and I kind of got it laid on there. Disconnected the rear shock so I could have it all the way bottomed out, because that's going to be the lowest point, but I still have a gap on here because there's a bump stop in the from the frame to the top of the swing arm, and that will give if you bottom out. So I still wanted to have a little bit of a gap. And then if he does air ride, he can slam it down and still ride it without the fender rubbing the tire. This extra portion of fender, what I'm going to do with it is I'm going to make a splash guard. So I'm probably going to cut it down the center, narrow it up about 1 inch, and then weld it back together. And then I'll put that and I'll mount it to the bottom part, to the actual swing arm. So when that's all sitting there, it's going to look like the fender goes all the way around like it's a rigid mount. But then when you're riding down the road, the swing arm will move independently of the fender. So that's the plan. See how it's kind of cut straight with it? And then I put tape here just to kind of protect it while I was marking it and stuff like that. It's already kind of scratched up a little bit, but keeps it from getting any worse. So sometimes it's a little bit harder to understand each other between a builder and a customer. So you kind of explain something and they're like, yeah, I get it. That's what I want. That'll look cool. I'm like, cool. And then I explain things that are going to happen, like this one. So a customer wanted a real low profile fender that hugs the rear tire, and that looks really cool. So I accomplished that. I made a plate, drilled and tapped the frame so that this could be mounted on here. Like, it's a little loose because I still hadn't put my fender supports in there yet. So I got it mocked up, and then I went to show him basically how it's gonna look. So like the rear gap, he's like, oh, that's exactly what I wanted, cool, this and that. So I thought he was gonna do air ride, which would have the gap when you roll in somewhere, you can air it down and have the cool gap, and when you park, you can air it down and the cool gap. The part he didn't understand, and I guess maybe I didn't explain it well, was this is gonna change when you're going down the road, because you can't have it like this on a Softail because it's going to be moving, so you don't want this tire slamming into the fender as you're going down the road. Or if you lower it too much, it's going to slam and it's going to start hurting your back. So this is the down position. It's got the cool gap and everything looks really cool. The problem is when you air it up to ride down the road, you get this, the big dirt bike look. So looking from the back, you can see the top of the tire, and that's not a desirable look. Not for me, not for my customer. So when he saw it, he's like, oh, now I get what you're talking about. So what I'm gonna do now is kind of something that they did back in the day in the chopper world. When they would build a Softail, They would sometimes like build a fender so it had long skirts so that it would hide that look and it would come down further. But he doesn't want that long fender look. He wants that short fender look. So I'm going to do a chopper style. I'm going to go ahead and mount the rear fender to the swing arm. Very similar to how Harley did on the predecessor to this actual bike, which was the Rocker C. Now the Rocker C had the fender mounted to the swing arm, but then it had this weird seat that stuck up crazy high for a passenger and it looked like a diving board, but that way the fender had room to move. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and mount the fender chopper style to the swing arm. So we'll probably have to weld on the swing arm. We'll have to get this repowder coated, which will be fine. And then this obviously will have to be painted, but I'm going to go ahead and mount this to the swing arm. Now, the problem with that is the fender's going to be moving, so the seat's going to be an issue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to help clean up some of this wiring that he has going on in here, and I'm going to make a new seat pan. That seat pan's going to come back and it's going to go up on top of the fender, and then I'll cut it and make it look really nice. Then I'm going to have some reliefs in the fender so that the seat pan can flex. So as the bike's going down the road and the fender's going up and down, it's going to flex. Now, I know you're thinking like, that's just going to hit you in the back. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to put really dense foam in here so it won't hurt. It will push, but it won't hurt. So, and how I can get away with that is on a soft tail, the seats sit way far forward. See how this one's sitting? So that right here is probably enough cushion to help, but we're going to add just a tad bit more. And so when I do the seat pan, it's going to sit back like this. It's going to hug the fender more, but then we're going to move this up just a little bit more to give him a little bit more of that dense foam feel. But then when he rides the bike, he's going to be sitting back just a little bit further. So his arms will be stretched out a little bit more. It'll be a lot more chopper style. And the reason is because this isn't a bad look, but going down the road, like you really can't tell. But when you're in traffic, like you can't slam it real quick and then the light changes and then you lift it up and you go, and then when you come to the next light, you slam it real quick, and then when you take off, you lift it just so that it doesn't look weird. So you get caught by the chopperazzi or something like that, they're gonna take a photo and that's gonna be a big old huge thing. So now, trying not to drop the bike off the lift and lower it, but so now it'll have this real clean look, this real small gap in here. You want some gap in here because you're going to have tire growth as you're going down the road. Some Metzlers and stuff like that, and some Avons, they don't run the steel belted radial, they run the bias ply, so those ones will grow. If you're doing a burnout, just like a dragster, when you're doing a burnout and that tire gets real big, same thing here. When you start pulling mile per hour, the center of that tire will start to enlarge and it'll get skinnier and taller. So you want to make sure you have some gap. Usually Metzlers, you can do like a 1/4 inch gap, the way they're woven. The Avons, I like to do like probably 3/4 inch gap. But yeah, so we're going to have it gapped, slammed looking, and I'm going to make a new seat pan. So yeah, so that's where we're going. So got a new fender just showed up. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this. He actually, I don't know where he gets them from, but he got a pretty good deal on it. And then he got another one, and I was like, it's a lot cheaper to do that than for me to weld the fender back together. So he went ahead and bought a brand new one, and I'm just going to transfer over some marks and get it mounted chopper style. All right, so I don't even know where, like, this bike has been here so long because of my FXR and all the other stuff that's been going on in the shop. So my huge apologies to Alex for taking so long with this bike. It's not common that stuff takes this long to get done, but got the fender kind of fit up. Let me show you real quick. So anytime I do fenders, I always reinforce them. So what that's called is like doublers. You're doubling the piece of material so that way it reduces cracks and stuff like that from vibration. A lot of times when you mount a fender like this and you have supports up towards the front, the back tends to wiggle, and when it wiggles, that's what will make these fenders crack and break, especially when they're mounted up front. So got this one all cut out, got it looking like a proper chopper. So this is all incorporated into the fender, the splash shield, so that way you keep stuff from getting on your electronics and stuff. but it gives it that appearance of an actual, like a chopper. I do have some stuff in here to kind of help keep the gap, so that way I have a growth gap, so when this tire expands in the center, it won't rub. So I have one here, I have some in the pieces here, and then I have one down in the front, and then this is the other chopper side. I personally think this is the way to go. We should have gone this way in the beginning. So that's just really cool. The only problem I have now is I still have to figure out, while I'm finishing this, I'm going to mount it like a West Coast chopper, by the way. And so the only thing that I'm going to have problems with is designing the seat. I've never done one where this is moving and the seat's a part of the actual fender. So that's going to be a big learning curve for me. I'm going to go ahead and reach out to Paul Yaffe. I know he's done some of these, and he's really good about helping out and giving advice and stuff like that. So I'm going to reach out to Paul, see if he'll give me some advice on how he did his. Maybe Sean from TOL. He did a lot of those with Matt Hotch, so I know he's kind of got a little bit of an idea of how to do it properly. Because you want to make a seat pan that's one piece, but it's got a flex. So I don't know if you just go thin with fiberglass so that it flexes, and if it breaks, but the foam will keep it all together. I mean, it's sitting against the fender, so it's not a big deal, but it's got to have that flex so that way when you're hitting bumps and stuff like that, you're not beating the crap out of yourself. But he said maybe he might have his wife ride it every once in a while and stuff like that, so I do want to go ahead and put some internal struts here. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the plasma cutter, get a couple struts cut out, get those welded in. Got all the bungs machined, so I can start getting all of that stuff mounted and have it kind of looking West Coast choppery. Gone a completely different route. Sometimes you just gotta put it on, take it off, put it on, take it off until you find out exactly what you want. So, all right, let's move forward. All right, so all done here. Fiberglass seat pan, ready to go to the upholsterer. Got a nice look on the bottom. The front, the top is a little bit wanky. Wanky, is wanky a word? Anyways, it's a little bit different because I had a tape cardboard under there, so when I put the fiberglass on and I was working the fiberglass, that it would hold the fiberglass up to be level with where I wanted it. The weight of the fiberglass and me pushing the resin into the fiberglass, it kind of pushed it down. So this side is, I don't know if you can see, it's down a little bit as compared to this side. But once it's foamed, you won't be able to tell. It'll be all the way up here and then the foam. So it's all going to work out. Check it out on the bike. So I use the front nose portion of the seat, so all of that sits in correctly how it was. There it goes. So got it all done. I will have to do the relief so that way it will bend when the fender moves, but I will do that later. But other than that, I think it has a good look. There's usually fender struts that bolt in right here, and then the struts come up and over. So I went ahead and added the fiberglass so it went over. So that way when the seat is done, it's going to cover all of those bolts that are, or the lack thereof bolts that are that would be exposed like that. So the seat is actually going to go over that so you don't see it, and then it just kind of blends in here. And this is real tight, but you got to remember this, the seat is going to move with the swing arm, so that's that. So the customer also brought in, which I don't know why, when you got a 6-gallon gas tank on your bike, I don't know why you would need auxiliary fuel tank, but I guess maybe he rides with guys with choppers and small gas tanks. But anyways, this is probably one of the trickiest fuel canisters that I've seen on the market. I ran across it. He kind of showed me some clamps and how to unbolt it that he wanted his to go. Hold on, let me show you his. So this is his Moon Eyes one. It's just a small deal, and it had like it's got like a leather bag that straps to the bike, and it kind of gets held on that way. And he wanted some. Oh, actually, no. This one has clamps, some kind of weird clamping stuff. So I ran across this one from, I don't know if it's El Lobo Cycles or just Lobo Cycles, but they're overseas, I think in the UK. They build really cool bikes, kind of like West Coast Chopper style. It's not West Coast Chopper style, but yeah, like old school chopper style bikes, like real clean choppers, kind of have that West Coast vibe and stuff, but they do it in UK. But anyways, they manufactured this one, and check it out. It's got a cool little deal. And it comes with these clamps. Kind of have them all together because I'm not going to be able to use them, but they got these cool clamps that clamp around to your frame. So one goes there, and then another one, this one, goes up higher, so it kind of sits, and so there's a little gap between them. Now the gap, the bottom one has a pin that goes through it. I don't know if you can see that. So that pin lines up with this handle. And this is exactly what I was wanting to build him. And then I saw it online. I'm like, they already manufacture it. Why reinvent the wheel when you can just order it online? Now, it took like 2 weeks to get it here from the UK, plus shipping was expensive, but the parts weren't that bad at all. The bottom sits on this little pin here. So that sits on the pin, and then the top slides forward, and it lines up in this hole. So once you have it all lined up, then it goes in and out, no problem. But the cool part about it, see how that didn't want to give out. So the cool part about it is, I gotta find the right side, here it is. When it goes in, there's this quick release pin. It's just a little pin with a little ball bearing in there, so when you squeeze it, the ball bearings kind of move out of the way, and then when you let go, they get back in the way. That's it. So when you need your auxiliary bottle, like if you had it somewhere where you could reach down and grab it, you could actually grab it while you were riding if you wanted to. I don't suggest it, but because you might drop it or the pin. But pull the pin, leans out, pick it off of the little lip, and it's good to go. So this is really cool. Lobo Cycles, El Lobo Cycles in the UK. Oh, Lobo Cycles, they are the ones that make the carbon fiber CFL tank. Now, if you haven't seen that, you got to go to their website or their IG and check it out. It's probably the baddest looking tank I've ever seen. Carbon fiber villain tank. Yeah, I couldn't imagine how much it is. It's probably $1,200, $1,500. It's got to be more. Anyways, so what I'm doing today is I got to make a new mount. So he's got one of those little, it's kind of like the toolbox, but it's a little bag that he puts on the swing arm. So I got to now make this fit on the bike, but where that bag is at goes exactly, well, the frame rails, this isn't going to look good on the frame rails. Second, these clamps are made for 1 1/4 tubing, and the frame on that Breakout is 1 1/2. No, this is 1 1/8. Yes, 1 1/8, 1.125. And the frame is 1 1/4. Hold on. Yes, it's made for 1 1/8, and the frame is 1 1/4. So I try to get these clamps to go on there. They will not go on there. They want to scratch the frame all up. And then once you get this over that tube, it has it, because I grabbed a piece of 1 1/4 tube, and it pushes it so far out, like it won't fit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make a mount, because right in front of that bag is where he usually has it mounted. Well, there's no frame to grab. There's no frame. You can't grab the swing arm because the spread is way too far. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a bracket that bolts onto the rear passenger peg. He said his wife never rides the bike, so we're going to mount it there. If she ever goes for a ride real quick or something like that, it's not going to go very far, so he won't need the auxiliary tank. So he'll be able to unbolt it off with one bolt, bolt his peg in. She can ride with him when they get home, take that peg off, put the bracket for this back on. So I'm going to make a bracket and probably have to like machine these flat and then weld it onto the bracket. I'm not sure how. And then I got to, on that bracket, it's got to mount to the rear passenger peg, but it's got to have some sort of little finger sticking off so that way it keeps the tank from wanting to rotate, you know, going down the road. If that bolt loosens up a little bit, so it doesn't rotate. That's what I'm doing today. I kind of got a quick little reference. I put this behind the swing arm and kind of got a rough estimate. Like this is where the peg would go in right here, and then the swing arm comes back this way. Sorry. I'm looking in the camera and it's backwards. So the peg would go right here, and then the swing arm goes back this way. So I want to put the mount piece to just go straight in here, bolt there, and then some kind of little tab to maybe reference off of here to keep it from wanting to rotate. I'm gonna kind of mark some stuff out. I'll kind of show you how things go, or I'll show you the final product. We'll just have to see how things go. Oh, such a cool design. So now I gotta machine the roundness because that was supposed to go around the tube. So now I gotta machine these flat so I can weld them onto my new panel. So I got it all machined down. Where's the other one? So I got it machined flat and then dressed it up a little bit. So now I have the bottom one figured out where it needs to be so that it's level, perpendicular, whatever you want to call that. Actually, I'm gonna try to get this polished out because there's some pretty deep scratches from my blending. So let me see if I can get rid of those real quick because I don't think I'll be able to get in there to get those deep scratches done. So let me get this cleaned up and then I'll weld this block on. All right, got a nice finish on there. You don't want to weld stuff and then try to clean up stuff later because it's too hard to get in those spots. Whew, just leaned against that and it's still warm. So got the pieces welded on there. Now I'm going to go ahead and I already had scribed it. I'm going to go ahead and cut it flat and straight, put it on the machine, deck it real quick, make sure it looks good, and then take a look at it and see if there's anything else I need to do. If not, we're going to go mount this on the bike. All cleaned up. Let's put it on the bike and see how it looks. I went ahead and used a 12-point ARP. Countersunk it there. This goes here. Goes on right where the foot peg usually goes. And with these cutouts, keeps it from trying to twist. There you have it. Yeah, so check El Lobo Psychos if you want to get something like that. Like, this is so cool. So, oh, buddy needs gas. Cool. Take it off, pour gas in, set it back on here, back to the gas station to refill this. You're good to go. Like I said, he's got a little soft tail bag. So this bag sits right here in front of it. And not only with this mount being on not on the swing arm, so now it won't be going up and down the road shaking and squirting gas out. It's going to ride with the frame, which will be a lot smoother. It's going to have, this bike's got forward control, so his leg's going to be out of the way, and then when he sits at the stoplight or whatever, his foot should be like right around here, so this should be way out of his way. So yeah, great job, El Lobo Psychos. Yeah, this was pretty cool. Sweet. Dang it, I did it again. Just started fabricating. So side mount license plate. He had one that stuck way out there. See how it's the end? I don't know. It wasn't bad. I mean, for a home builder, I mean, it wasn't bad. I've seen worse, that's for sure. So coming up with a little something similar, but you get a little different, a little Garley's Garage touch to it. So check it out. So what I'm doing is I'm reusing where the bolts that hold the upper and lower belt guards, and I'm using some round rod, hollow, thick wall round rod to get to the plate and over there, and then I just plasma cut me out a little license plate bracket. The red bracket is clamped to keep it 90 degrees square to the axle. And then I had to keep distance on the axle blocks. Hopefully that's enough, because he's going to get these custom axle covers that go over the top. So I'm trying to clear everything and not put anything in the way as far as going up and down. I got it triangulated from here, so that should be good. And then I'm zeroed out as far as level to earth. And then the bike is level to earth as well. So that's how I know this is level to earth. Whoops. Now it shows way off. Oh, I think I had it stuck to the clamp. So just a little, whoops, wrong way. I mean, you just barely touch it. Here, and we're at 0. So I got to get that tacked in. Once I get this done, I got to do a couple little things on his front brake bracket that I started a long time ago and didn't finish. So hopefully I'll have this one wrapped up today. Yeah, let me finish this up. And oh, and I got to mount the LED tail lights, which are pretty trick looking. So, all right, let me get this tack welded up and we'll carry on from there. So, when I did the side mount license plate, it didn't have wiggle from the actual license plate part. It had wiggle from from the long bars. Well, the reason is this thin sheet metal brackets that hold the upper and lower belt guards on is too thin. So what I did is I made support plates. Yeah. And I'm going to weld these on to thicken this up and then add more. Now it is going to move the license plate out, which is fine, because when I welded it all up, it was a little bit too close to the ARP bolts than I'd like. So it's actually going to bump it out just a little bit. But now I'm going to go ahead and weld this on there, and that's going to stiffen this up, and I should have little to no flex. So let me get this welded on. Got to make another one for down here, get that welded on, and then we'll remount it, and we'll see what it looks like. And there it is, all mounted up. I did weld in that extra piece. You can kind of see it just kind of beaded there, so I'll go back and clean it up. Once all of the stuff is off of here, I can go back and weld where I need to. This one I didn't weld very well at all, so that might be a part that it's got a little bit of flex, but I mean, it's not going anywhere. Little swing arm bag. Boop. License plate. It's behind the bag, but it doesn't stick out way past the bag, so that's cool. Pretty happy with the way these two items came out. So I got to do the little bit. Oh, got to add the tail lights, which is nothing. I'm just going to drill a couple of holes. I'll drill a hole here for the light to go on, and then a hole over here for the wires to come out. I got to do a couple of things on his front brake bracket that I started a long time ago and didn't finish. He wanted to be able to bolt something on. Let's see. So he's got this shift arm that he bought that he really likes and kind of goes with that. But on this bike, they didn't make one for this piece, but he wanted to reuse that. So I took a billet one that he had and I machined a new piece. I'm not sure if I filmed it. I machined this piece, so now what I gotta do is I gotta take this piece, weld on the bracket back on there so that it does that once I get this line where it needs to be. And he'll have, I guess, one of the only billet pieces here, because this is two pieces, so I didn't damage this. So now we can get this polished and anodized, and then, or powder coated, and then this piece bolts to this piece, or pins to it, so that way he'll have one of the only ones like it without having to build or have to have one machine, because we know machinists. I'm about to head home, and I'll be back to wrap up those last couple of things in the morning. So as far as the brake arm, I cleaned up this little piece that I machined, and it's got two pins in it, and I'll show you here in a second, but I just welded it up. Welded this little baby shark fin thing. That's the piece that actually brake master cylinder gets pushed in by. But just got it welded up. You can see where the black anodizing started turning gold. That's from the heat. But let me get this cleaned back up, back to nice and shiny. I think I'm going to go ahead and leave the welds. They don't look bad. So whether it's anodized or powder coated, I think it'll still look good. So I'm just cleaning up like an idiot. You got to be careful when you put your ground clamp to the table and then you just set this on there and you start welding, because it's going to look for ground. And when I started it this way, it was flat, so it didn't really do any arcing, but it arced on this side, and I hate that. Kind of puts little nick looking thing. Once you clean up the black from the arcs, then it kind of makes it look like it has chips. This one, not too bad. So let me get some sandpaper. Ah, crap. Had a little hole in my shorts, then I snagged it, now it's a big old hole. So with some 120 grit, I'm putting some little hash marks on it, kind of like brushed stainless, so it's got kind of like a brushed marks to it. Do it the same. I'll show you how everything interlocks when I bolt it on, so let's go check that out. Not sure if I really went into detail. This was his shift arm. It's a real heavy steel shift arm, and he found this billet one that he really liked, but it's made for a different model bike. I think maybe like a bagger or something. And so what I did is I cut that little shark fin piece off of this and then machined it down so that I could make something else. And what I did is it's got little holes in it. Now those holes are for these little dowel pins. Put the dowel pins in, and then it's recessed in there to fit over that recess on this piece here, and kind of goes in like that. And it's a press fit, so yeah. So now it's like one piece. So why I did that is to save money. But that way we can get this anodized. This doesn't have to be anodized and recut. It's ready to go. So now I got it. So it's locked in. It looks like it's all one piece, but it's not. It's locked in. And then what's going to happen is this will go here. Rubber seal that goes here. Put this in here. There we go. See? Love that grease. There we go. Got a brake arm done. So, tail lights are done. I got to get in there and I got to drill the backside of the tail light holes because they're not deep enough. It's too thick for the nut to go on, so I'm going to do a recess hole. Once I do that, then you'll be able to put the light in and then put the nut from the backside and secure it. And then I'll probably cut a little line so that way you can kind of like get the wires from the back side of the tail lights to go within the fender, and then they'll pop out of the fender.